Kia ora tātou. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Ryman Healthcare's annual shareholders meeting. My name is David Kerr, and I'm the chair of Ryman's board. Firstly, I'd like to say it's nice to be back in front of a real live audience here, and I'd like to welcome those of you who are online. You may recall that last year our AGM was an entirely virtual event, which felt somewhat sterile to those of us presenting. In the past 18 months, we've been taught that we have to be nimble at all times, and this hybrid meeting is designed to allow the best of both worlds. We'd normally hold the meeting in a village, but we decided that in a constantly changing landscape, it would be best to hedge our bets and have the meeting here and minimising the risk of any infection in our residents' villages. So we love showing our villages off to you, and we will again soon, and if anyone wants a tour of a Ryman village, we're always keen to do that. So big welcome to our shareholders who are in the room and to those of you who are online through our virtual meeting platform, which is provided by our share market registrar, Lincoln Market Services. Also in the room, there are quite a number of senior executives of Ryman Healthcare, and big welcome to them. And they are the engine room, they're the powerhouse of this business, and so lovely to have them in the room with us. As with a normal annual meeting, anyone in the room or online is able to ask questions and vote, and clearly we'd encourage you to do so. I'll provide you with further instructions as we go through the meeting, but if you encounter any issues, please, if you're online, refer to the virtual annual meeting online portal guide, or you can phone the helpline on 0800 200 220. You can send through your questions at any time through the online portal by clicking the link shown here on the screen, and I'd encourage you to do so as early as possible, as that allows us to answer the questions at the appropriate time in the meeting. The agenda for the morning views a review from me, and then I'll hand over to our Group Chief Executive, Gordy McLeod, to give you an overview from his point of view. We'll then also hear from David Bennett, our Chief Financial Officer, and Cameron Holland, our Chief Executive of Ryman Australia. We'll then move to the formal business, which includes the resolutions that are before the meeting. Voting on resolutions will be conducted by way of a poll. Shareholders joining us here today, you will have been validated or been given your shareholder voting card. If you're a shareholder and did not register on arrival, then please make your way to the registration desk outside the room again, please, and the staff from Link will assist you. Shareholders who are joining online will be able to cast their vote using the electronic voting card they received when online registration is validated. To vote, you'll need to click Get Voting Card within the online meeting platform, which is shown here on the screen. You'll be asked to enter your shareholder or proxy number to validate. Please refer to the virtual meeting online portal guide or use the helpline if you require any assistance. Voting will remain open until 5 minutes after conclusion of the meeting. So, before we formally begin, I'd like to introduce you to my fellow board members. And I'll start with the Victorian-based directors who are at home. Well, they're not with us, obviously, because of the recent lockdown. So first of all, Claire Higgins, based in Victoria. Claire, if you just great, that was a wave. So Claire's a non-executive director with experience across a range of sectors in both Australia and New Zealand. She joined the board in 2014. She's chair of REI Superannuation Proprietary Limited and GMHBA Limited, and she holds director positions in the medical device and philanthropic sectors. Claire's the chair of our Audit and Financial Risk Committee. Secondly, Paula, if you could give us a wave, Paula, just so we're fabulous. Paula is a Melbourne-based human resources executive with experience across healthcare, finance and government sectors, and deep expertise in workforce planning, organisational capability, and executive coaching. In the early stages of her working life, Paula actually spent several years as a carer in the age and disability sector, and she is currently the chair of our People and Safety Committee. George Savides. George, a wave from you would just help everyone identify. Great. George lives in Melbourne and has 25 years' experience in the Australian healthcare industry. George was made a member of the Order of Australia for his considerable contributions to community, charitable groups and business. George served as Managing Director of Medibank, Australia's largest health insurer, before moving to governance, and he is chairman of our he's chairman of the he's chairman of SBS, the Australian Public Broadcasting Service. I apologise, George. He's a fellow of the Australian Institute of Directors, and George chairs our clinical, that's where I was trying to get to, chairs our clinical governance committee. Jeff Cumming, Jeff, away from you would help. That's great, thank you. Jeff's a New Zealand and Canadian citizen. He lives in Melbourne. He rejoined the board in 2018 following retirement of Kevin Hickman, and interestingly, Jeff was inducted into the Alberta Business Hall of Fame the following year, and he's a significant international philanthropist. Jeff's been a long-term supporter and significant shareholder of Ryman. He has more than 30 years' experience as a chairman, chief executive, and director and investor. He's served on more than 25 corporate boards in a range of industries and countries, and he chairs our Governance, Nominations and Remuneration Committee. And now to our New Zealand-based directors who are here with me. Immediately to my left, we have Jo Appleyard. Jo is a partner in Chapman Tripp and is an experienced advocate and litigator. She specialises in commercial employment and resource management law. Her skills are sought after by larger corporates, and Jo's experience in relation to civil disputes is particularly wide and varied. She acts in all manner of commercial issues. She's been a member of the New Zealand Markets Disciplinary Tribunal and is a member of our Health and Safety, Clinical Governance and Development and Construction subcommittees. Warren Bell is next along the line. Warren is an experienced public and private company director. He's currently chairman of Hallenstein Glasson, who operate both here and in Australia, and he's also chair of St George's Hospital, which is the largest private hospital in the South Island. He's also director of a number of private companies. And then we have Anthony Lees. Anthony Lees joined our board in 2018, and Anthony is the director of Lees Construction, a business that he founded in 1992, which has become a leading commercial and construction business operating throughout New Zealand. Anthony is a former chair of the New Zealand Registered Master Builders Association, and he chairs our Development and Construction Committee. Last but no means least, I'd like to welcome Greg Campbell. Greg joined the board in March following a long and distinguished career in executive roles and board positions in Australasia across listed and privately held organisations. Greg brings a deep operational understanding of businesses from more than 25 years as a CEO, and he's got a strong interest in sustainability and climate change. And then there's the team. Gordy McLeod, whom I'm sure almost everyone will know. Gordy is our esteemed and extremely hard-working and highly valued chief executive. So he's here, and beyond him is Dave Bennett, our chief financial officer, who also is highly regarded, esteemed, and highly valued as the CFO and company secretary. So the company secretary has confirmed to me that the notice of meeting has been sent to shareholders and any other persons entitled to receive it, and we've received apologies at this moment from John Boscawen. Are there any apologies from the floor? I take it there are none, so I move that we accept the apologies. All those seconder, please. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Mr. Don Trow. You know, I should have really welcomed Don Trow. Don was one of the founding directors in Ryman Healthcare, and his stamp has been left on the company over a long period of time, and he has been absolutely invaluable whilst a director and subsequently. So, Don, thank you for seconding, and welcome to yourself and Diana. Motion's been put, seconded, and all those in favour, aye. Thank you. Now, the company's constitution prescribes a quorum of shareholders. Based on the information that the registrars provided, I can confirm we have a quorum present. Proxies have been appointed for the purposes of this meeting in respect of approximately 309 million shares, which represents over 61% of the total number of shares in the company. I'd like to thank the shareholders for their level of participation in today's meeting, whether they're here or online. My fellow directors and I intend to vote all discretionary proxies as we have received in favour of the resolutions as set out in the notice of meeting. So, our annual report for the year ended 31 March, including the auditor's report, has been circulated to shareholders, and we'll take that as read. When I addressed the last AGM 12 months ago, we were in the midst of a hugely challenging period. A year later, we're definitely older, hopefully slightly wiser, But two things are immediately apparent to me. The first is that we've come a long way since then, and we've learned an awful lot about the COVID challenge, but I fear we're nowhere near the end of the pandemic yet. The second, more positive thing is that we have tremendous cause for optimism thanks to the miracle of not just one, but a number of highly effective vaccines. And in addition, I'd note the extraordinary resilience of both the housing markets that we operate in. It bears repeating that the way our teams have coped with the COVID challenge is an absolute credit to them. The team in Victoria, which has been through, I think this is its 5th lockdown, has never missed a beat, and we're incredibly proud of them. Lockdowns for a village mean that all the staff are in PPE. You know, I recently flew to Melbourne for a brief visit to the teams over there, and just wearing a mask for 4 hours was quite challenging, let alone 8 hours a day, every shift, sometimes with face shields added on. So, you know, it's enormous credit to them. The pandemic and the associated care and attention that our staff provide each and every minute means that the true what would I say? It means that the true impact is really very profound on our staff. But importantly, it actually means that the value proposition of our villages is even greater to the residents and their families. The offering that we have is more relevant than ever. And I suggest that the recent results, which we're going to talk about shortly, are a good testament to that. So if I just remind you quickly of our full year results, which have been announced, the audited underlying profit was $224.4 million, which is down 7.3%, which reflected the increased costs associated with COVID-19 and the impact of the lockdowns in both our markets. Construction and sales were obviously both affected. And Victoria, as you know, is an area of growth for this company. And it was in various stages of lockdown for about 6 months of the last financial year. The reported, or IFRS profit, increased 59.8% to $423.1 million, and this includes unrealised valuation gains. The total assets increased to $9.17 billion, up 19.5%, and our balance sheet further strengthened with net assets increasing 23% to $2.83 billion. The full year dividend was 24.2 cents per share, and we've now paid out more than $1 billion to shareholders since we listed in 1999, which represents a pretty significant record of both creating value and sharing it with the shareholders. I'm pleased to say that the board has reviewed trading in the current year, and we've had a record first quarter of total sales of occupation rights, which Gordy will touch on in just a moment. This follows on from our best ever January to March quarter, and so it's been an encouraging start to the calendar year. We'll update you, of course, again at the first half results, which we would normally have in November. Ryman Healthcare has always been a company with two very important goals since we were first founded 37 years ago. The first is to provide excellent care to the residents who put their trust in us as a company. The second is to provide excellent financial results to our owners, and this of course enables the excellent care provision that can then be provided. When I think about the first of these goals, I believe it means providing a safe environment at or home and the best of care according to the need for our residents, and also providing strong reassurance for their families that they're being cared for. In this manner, I believe that Ryman makes a distinctive contribution to society. In addition, each village we build releases existing homes into the residential real estate market, and also includes our providing critical healthcare infrastructure with our range of care beds, because care has always been a core part of what we do. Over time, our villages then become an integral part of the healthcare system in the areas they operate in, as well as the community hubs. And of course, as we build and operate a village, we create entirely new employment opportunities along the way. Without these care beds that we provide, I shudder to think how the public hospital system would cope with our many frail elderly residents. It amazes me that the New Zealand government seems to value this care so poorly. As shareholders, you share in this purpose of providing critical healthcare infrastructure. Your investment in us, therefore, has a built-in social and ethical purpose. As a board, we recognise that companies must operate these days in a much broader context, so there's appropriate attention to not only our purpose, but also to the planet, to our people, and of course, profit. You'll have seen our focus on these different areas in the annual report. The common purpose of excellent care provision unites us as a board and village staff and management team. COVID's been a massive challenge to our desire to ensure excellent care, and COVID is indeed what you would call a black swan event, and it's been a great test of our management and frontline staff's resilience. Both groups have excelled absolutely wonderfully, and we are enormously grateful. The company's got a very talented, dedicated senior executive team, and many of them are here with us today. I can assure you that they work tirelessly to turn our visions of both value creation and high-quality care into a reality. You'll recall I noted the second and equally important function of the company is in providing excellent financial performance. We are, in essence, a growth company. Growing is not always easy, and growing financial results at a rate of 15% compound annual growth rate is even more challenging. It means we must be building and selling or occupying around 9 to 10% more units each year. Only 3 to 4 years ago, we were building at around 4 sites, and today we're building at 13 sites. There is an associated imperative to be acquiring sites at a steady rate and ensuring they move through the consenting and building phases smoothly. This has all been a major step up in activity for the company and all our various teams. And as you'll appreciate, there are many construction challenges when working at more than 13 sites, with some sites being more complex, local government being risk-averse around design, and in some jurisdictions, local government being swamped with work and there's consequential delays in consenting. Gordy will touch on our current construction workload in a moment, but needless to say, it is substantial and it will remain so to meet the growth ambitions. To enable that growth, we've increased our debt, as many of you will have noticed. It is important to note that our bankers continue to be supportive. The debt is in large part to enable the acquisition of land and the construction of these sites until such time as residents are able to occupy the villages. The good news is that there's no shortage of demand for our village currently, with having high occupancy across all sites. A recent in-depth analysis by JLL property analysts of the demographics in New Zealand show that the number of people over 75 will increase by 500,000 over the next 30 years, and that will surely underpin demand. And of course, the numbers in Australia will be significantly greater. A core part of our measurement of our financial performance has been the aim to achieve our underlying profit 15% annual growth. This hasn't been achieved for several years, which is a fact that has not escaped us, I can assure you. It's always been our medium-term target, and as you know, it means that the company's profits double every 5 years, providing what we believe is a good reward for shareholders. We were on target to achieve this in the full year 20 financial year, but life changed forever in January 2020, as you'll recall, when the pandemic hit. The lockdowns in New Zealand and Victoria significantly impacted people's ability to move into retirement villages. Through this period, we invested in keeping our staff and residents safe and connected, and the direct impact of that on our FY 2021 result was around $20 million. Our expenditure on PPE was very significant, but given how things are going currently, I reckon that was a good investment. COVID is and remains a challenge. It's the new normal for us. However, we remain very focused on achieving a good financial result in the current year, and there's very intense focus from all of those involved in the company in this regard. Despite the COVID challenges, we still see strong demand, we're still profitable, we're still expanding rapidly, with both the occupancy advances and the NTA increasing by 15% compound annual growth rate over the last 5 years. Our focus on underlying profit increasing has not diminished, though. We're a talent-led organisation, and we're constantly looking at adding to the team to enable this growth, but always making sure that the care culture remains in place. It's fortunate we have a long-serving team of leaders, and again, many of them are in the room with us today, with those values embedded in them. Gordy gave us an early signal of his intention to depart after 15 years at Ryman. Fortunately, he's given us plenty of warning and time to look for a group chief executive. He will be exceptionally difficult to replace. The group chief executive is the linchpin between both our human capital and our financial capital, and it's his or her responsibility to use the brains, trust and knowledge within the company to effectively enable the two goals that I've described to you. Value creation is mission critical, as is delivery of best possible care, and both of those goals are dependent on our having high quality talent in the organisation. So we're looking for someone with a very particular set of skills, We're partway through an international search for this critical person, and we'll update you as soon as a replacement is found. At a recent AGM, we were asked about the risks we face, and I thought it was a very good question, and I must say there are no shortage of things that we're concerned with at this stage. While the pandemic's been all-consuming, we also have front of mind areas like cybersecurity, health and safety of staff and contractors at construction sites and in the villages, construction challenges with procurement and access to good quality construction staff, as well as the maintenance of that excellent clinical care, which is so dependent on millions of moments of personal interaction between our staff and our residents. Of course, there are other potential things such as legislative change, climate change, ESG issues, to name but a few. All are important. None are ignored, I can assure you. Cybersecurity has, however, been a significant focus for us. Dependency on IT in a company like this has steadily increased, and detection of incursions, along with education and constant testing, is critical. Internationally, this nefarious activity of cyber attacks has grown by 150% in the last 2 years and is now worth $11 trillion annually. That is greater than the whole illicit drug trade in the world. So it has to be seen as a major enterprise risk to all companies like ours. In the room with us is Rick Davies, who's our IT lead, and you'd be welcome to chat with him about this challenge after the meeting. So look, Ryman Healthcare is in very good heart thanks to our committed team in all parts of our business, extremely supportive residents and their families who are the most powerful marketing tool, I'd suggest to you, and understandably our board are extremely grateful to everyone in the Ryman family for your support. So thank you very much, and over to you, Gordy.